The Eternal War had raged for 7,000 years across the Zirian sector, consuming entire star systems in its relentless hunger for destruction. The Vaeltheran Empire and the Zephyrite Coalition had locked themselves in perpetual combat, their hatred burning brighter than the dying suns they obliterated in their endless campaign of mutual annihilation. Admiral Kethros of the Vaeltheran Third Fleet watched from his command bridge as another coalition dreadnought exploded in brilliant silence against the void. The tactical display showed the familiar pattern: his forces would claim this system today, only to lose it again within the cycle when Zephyrite reinforcements arrived. It was the same dance of death they had performed for millennia. "Status report," he commanded, his crystalline exoskeleton clicking with fatigue. 17 coalition vessels destroyed, Admiral. We've lost 12 of our own. The asteroid mining station is secured, but long-range sensors detect a Zephyrite battle group approaching from the Kepler junction. Kethros nodded grimly. They would hold this system for perhaps 30 rotations before retreating, allowing the coalition to reclaim it, only to attack again when their own reinforcements arrived. The war had become a grotesque ritual, played out across hundreds of worlds with neither side capable of achieving decisive victory. Both civilizations had evolved specifically for warfare. The Vaeltherans had bioengineered themselves into living weapons, their crystalline shells could deflect energy beams, their neural networks processed tactical data at superhuman speeds, their very blood had been modified to clot instantly when exposed to vacuum. The Zephyrite had taken a different path, fusing their organic forms with quantum mechanical implants that allowed them to phase through solid matter and manipulate probability fields. Each species had spent millennia perfecting the art of killing the other. Their entire cultures, economies, and technological development had been shaped by the demands of eternal warfare. Peace was not merely impossible, it was literally inconceivable to minds that had evolved for nothing but conflict. Then the humans arrived. The first reports had been dismissed as sensor ghosts. A small fleet of primitive vessels had emerged from uncharted space, their crude fusion drives and chemical propulsion systems marking them as barely civilized. Neither the Vaeltherans nor the Zephyrite paid them much attention. What threat could such backward creatures pose to civilizations that had spent 7 millennia perfecting warfare? Ambassador Jen Morrison of the Terran Diplomatic Corps stood in the neutral space station that orbited the contested world of Nexus Prime. She was small, fragile, utterly unremarkable compared to the towering Vaeltheran warforms and the shimmering Zephyrite phase warriors that faced her across the negotiation table. "Honored beings," she began, her translator carefully rendering her words into both alien languages, "humanity offers mediation in your conflict. We believe all sapient species deserve peace." War Commander Zalthek of the Zephyrite rippled with what might have been laughter. "Soft skin, your species has existed for mere moments. We have fought this war since before your sun ignited. There can be no peace between our peoples." "The human speaks of impossibilities," agreed Admiral Kethros. "The Zephyrite are a plague that must be cleansed from the galaxy. This is the natural order." Morrison nodded patiently. She had expected this response. Her superiors had briefed her thoroughly on both species psychology. "I understand your position. However, humanity would like to demonstrate something that might change your perspective." She activated a holographic projector, showing both alien commanders a tactical display of the Zirian sector. "This is your current battlefront. 17 contested systems, locked in perpetual stalemate. You've been fighting over the same territory for millennia without meaningful progress. Your point, primitive?" Zalthek's probability field flickered with irritation. "My point," Morrison said calmly, "is that you're both fighting the same war incorrectly." Before either commander could respond, the space station's sensors detected massive energy signatures throughout the Zirian sector. On the tactical display, new contacts appeared, hundreds of them, emerging simultaneously across all 17 contested systems. They were human vessels, but unlike the primitive ships that had first arrived in Zirian space. These craft were sleek, angular, and utterly silent as they moved through space with impossible precision. "What is the meaning of this?" Kethros demanded, his biomechanical systems automatically shifting to combat readiness. Morrison's expression remained serene. "Humanity has observed your conflict for 6 months. We've analyzed your tactical patterns, studied your weapons systems, mapped your supply lines, and calculated your strategic capabilities. We've concluded that this war will continue indefinitely unless external intervention occurs. The tactical display updated, showing the human fleet moving into position throughout the sector. They weren't attacking either side's forces, they were simply positioning themselves. These are our pacification units, Morrison explained. Each one contains what we call a logic engine, and artificial intelligence specifically designed to end conflicts through optimal force application. War Commander Zalfek's form shimmered with contempt. You think your primitive machines can challenge species that have perfected warfare for 7,000 years? No, Morrison replied. We don't think they can challenge you. We know they can stop you. The demonstration began without warning. In the Kepler system, a Vaeltheran battle group was advancing on a Zephyrite mining colony when human pacification units materialized around them. The units didn't fire weapons, they simply emitted a strange field that caused both fleets to stop dead in space. On the display, Admiral Kethros watched in growing horror as his ship's weapons systems simply shut down. Not destroyed, not damaged, deactivated. The Zephyrite vessels suffered the same fate. Both fleets hung motionless in space, their crews alive but utterly helpless. Impossible, he breathed. Our systems are hardened against all known forms of electronic warfare. Against all forms you've encountered, Morrison corrected. Humanity developed different solutions because we faced different problems. Your species evolved to fight each other. Ours evolved to fight itself. She gestured to the display, where the same scene was playing out across 17 star systems simultaneously. Wherever Vaeltheran and Zephyrite forces engaged, human pacification units appeared and rendered both sides completely powerless. Our logic engines don't use electronic warfare, Morrison explained. They manipulate quantum probability cascades to create localized zones where violent action becomes statistically improbable. Your weapons don't malfunction, they simply become unable to cause harm. War Commander Zalfek's probability manipulation flickered frantically as he tried to phase through the station's bulkheads, only to find himself unable to alter his quantum state. What have you done to me? Extended the same field around this station, Morrison said matter-of-factly. Don't worry, the effect is temporary and causes no permanent damage. Think of it as a timeout. Admiral Kethros stared at the tactical display where his mighty Third Fleet hung helpless in space. Why, he demanded. Why interfere in our war? Morrison's expression softened slightly. Because wars should have endings. Your conflict has become a closed loop. Two species locked in eternal combat, consuming resources that could be used for exploration, creation, progress. You've forgotten how to be anything except each other's enemies. This is who we are, Zalfek insisted. Remove your interference, and we will continue fighting. It is our nature. Nature can evolve, Morrison replied. Humanity spent most of its history fighting itself. We had thousands of wars, some lasting centuries. We developed weapons that could sterilize planets, end civilizations, extinguish entire species. But eventually, we realized that our greatest enemy wasn't each other, it was the universe itself. She expanded the holographic display, showing the vast emptiness of space beyond the Zirian sector. Out there are challenges that require cooperation, not competition. Stellar engineering projects that need multiple species working together. Scientific mysteries that demand different perspectives. Threats that make your war look like a territorial dispute between children. The pacification units maintained their fields for exactly 72 hours. When they finally deactivated their probability cascades, something had fundamentally changed in the Zirian sector. Both the Vaeltheran and Zephyrite fleets found themselves face to face with an uncomfortable truth: they had been rendered completely helpless by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Admiral Kethros was the first to speak over the interfleet communication channel. War Commander Zalfek. Your forces showed tactical efficiency in the Rigel engagement. Your biomechanical adaptations demonstrated impressive resilience, Admiral, came the cautious reply. It wasn't peace, not yet. But it was the first civil exchange between the two species in 7,000 years. Morrison smiled as she watched both fleets slowly disengage and retreat to their respective territories. The pacification units faded back into hyperspace, leaving behind only a simple message broadcast to both civilizations. Humanity stands ready to assist any species that chooses cooperation over conflict. We have seen what you can destroy. We are curious to learn what you can create. In the months that followed, something unprecedented occurred in the Zirian sector. Ceasefires began lasting longer than a few days. Trade negotiations replaced some military engagements. Joint research stations were established to study the human probability manipulation technology. The eternal war didn't end overnight. 7 millennia of hatred couldn't be erased by a single demonstration. But for the first time in recorded history, both species began to consider the possibility that there might be something beyond endless conflict. And in distant Terra, the architects of the logic engines began planning for their next intervention. The galaxy was full of wars that had forgotten their purpose, species trapped in cycles of violence they could no longer escape. Humanity had learned to fight itself and survived. Now it would teach the universe how to stop.